Yeah, so B Mike, his name is Brandon Odoms, is a street artist in New Orleans, and I think maybe about 3 years ago, he like hosted this like nonprofit conference that happens annually throughout the U.S. And a mentor of mine happened to be down there, connected with him. She shared like, "Hey, I met this cool guy. I think you should connect with him." I don't think that she had his contact information, so the best I could do was find him on Instagram. And I reached out. I could probably pull up the DM actually.
Oh, we're getting
Um,
receipts. Receipts.
yeah,
Love to see the receipts.
December of 2018. I was like, "Hey, dog, just wanted to reach out to say thank you again for the love and support." No, that's not the first message. Scrolling back. Okay, so I sent him a link to the site at the time, and it's funny. It's so like indirect way of inviting somebody to purchase something. But I said, "You didn't get this from me, but here's the early access to the site." And I sent him the website, and then I saw he checked out like later that day. And then maybe a month later, he there were pictures floating around of like him and Big Crit, who's like a rapper, with the sweatshirt on, and I just followed up and told him thank you, and we've had a little bit of like banter conversation since then. But yeah, like he didn't. I don't even know that he necessarily remember my mentor, but nonetheless, like he responded, right, engaged, and he bought, right. There wasn't like a super complicated process there, and what I appreciate at least about that transaction too, there wasn't he, and I've seen this happen a couple times too with some people with larger platforms I reached out to. He didn't ask for free product. Personally, I think that's corny. I
Is
understand why it's a
That's
thing.
funny. Like you
Yeah, like right. It completely bypasses the whole statement that's from the shirt. Like if I continue to give everybody product for free, then I would be at a disadvantage, right? But at the same time, I understand how seeing works, marketing, etc. That's just not my stitch. So the fact that he like supported in that way was really dope. But also, I took the, if you want to say, risk of reaching out. But what's the worst thing he could have said? Nothing,
yeah.
or liked it and kept moving, and that's okay because the visibility is still beneficial too. So at peak, when I was really like, I think at this time when I was still under 1,000 followers, I would literally send out like 10 DMs a day, just to like not random people, but like profiles that I came across that I thought were cool, or the people in the world of art or creative endeavors who might find you know um, or like be able to relate to what I was doing. And quite often people, if they didn't buy, at least responded, which is neat, right? Like here's a platform on which like, people are actually more accessible than you think.
Mm,
Um, and oftentimes like we just don't take that step to like be seen.
exactly.
Um, and I think that the reason why, and again, you have to be careful about how you use the tools, but like I think that there's a benefit to direct contact is like one, it's an invitation, right? Like you're not just posting hoping somebody sees it, because truthfully, the way that algorithms work on Instagram these days, it's like there is a method to the madness, but at the same time, like you can make a post today, right? And I could never see it, right? Even though I follow you and I might engage with your post, it's just no
Yes.
telling how many other people I follow or how Instagram is working that day and what it thinks I want to see, right? So the only best way then to be seen is to be direct. So beyond the Instagram DM method, right? Nobody wants to be on Instagram all day sending messages. There's emails, right? People have their email list in their bio, like their our newsletter, right? That's another way to reach people. And I think nonetheless, what I'm getting at is saying all that is a lot of times like making sales is not just about what you post, it's about how you invite people, right? Like into what you're doing or to be a part of what you're doing. So yeah.
Antonio, I just have to say, because one of my like biggest tips to like high schoolers and like just young people is social capital. Just like who you know is
Mm,
so important. I feel like especially like in the Black community, it's like we don't know a lot about networking. Like we keep our people close, and it's like hard
hmm.
to branch out and trust people. And like not saying that this is like trusting people, but like it's
Right.
so important to just like cold call, cold message, cold email, like take that leap of faith, take that risk, and like reach out to people, because a lot of times people do want to help, people do want to talk to you.
Yeah.
Even if they can't monetarily help you, like they will try to do what they can. And
Right. even sharing a post, right?
Exactly. Like, oh, okay, I'll put this in my story, like things like that. They're so easy to do that. Like, it's just sometimes we get too in our head. Like, I know I get too in my head. I get too scared.
Yeah,
What's the worst that can happen? Then nothing. What's worse than that? And like, I love how it
yeah,
wasn't even just like a one-time thing for you. Like, you saw that it worked and you kept at it. You're like, I was doing like 10 DMs a day and like actually actively doing that and actively trying to build that network, actively trying to build your brand. So I love that. I really love that because that is one of my like things that I
thank
like to
you.
tell people all the time. Yeah. So like moving on, like just knowing like this is Black History Month, and at Student Dream we like to celebrate Black history, past, present, and future. And right now you are the present, you are the future, and I just want to know like, what is the future of Artists Need Lunch? Artists Need Lunch Money. What is the future of your on-demand screen printing business? What is the future of Antonio? And then like,
Yeah,
what advice would you give to like future creatives, future entrepreneurs, like someone who might be in high school, who might be in college, who's like, oh wow, I actually do have ideas, but I just don't know like where to start. What would you tell them? And like, what is your like? I know that's a lot of questions, but you got this.
yeah. I might ask you to repeat part of it, but I think I caught most of
Okay,
what you
I
said.
will.
So as it relates to the future of lunch money, the thing that I'm trying to figure out next is capital, right? Like funding. I think that so far I've been able to bootstrap and like, basically reinvest the money I'm making from whatever other job into this, but ultimately to really grow and scale the business, I need money. Like, I know that that's a hard conversation sometimes for folks to have because depending on where you come from, which to speak from my own experience, like my parents are doing well, but I don't have a trust fund. I don't have, unfortunately, like I don't say unfortunately, I don't have my network. Unfortunately, doesn't consist of like monetary, like a lot of or, you know what I mean? Like, but there are obviously very wise people around me whom I can tap into for information. But at some point, your resources become a little bigger than that. So that's where I'm at with that. I'm in the process of applying for a couple of different grants. Like I shared, I got a Facebook grant, which was really helpful. Um, and otherwise, there's a City Trends grant that's floating around. There's one that another apparel brand actually launched recently. I just applied for, and I'm being considered for an entrepreneurship program. It's like a 15-week intensive. Um, that would be really helpful just because they have access to capital and they also provide a lot of good resources specifically for minority and women-owned businesses. So those are things I'm working towards now. So I haven't put out any merchandise as of recent, in the midst of trying to figure that out, just to really be able to make the releases more comprehensive, right? So it's not just like, I don't want it to be as sporadic as it is currently, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that the money just isn't there, right? It costs money to get blank garments. Like, everything has a cost, right? So that's where I'm at in terms of that. As far as the print business is concerned, it's called Brand.with. I don't think that I shared that, but that's like the name of the business, like bandwidth with an R. That is kind of growing. Like that feels like flying the plane and building it at the same time because the business keeps coming, and like I'm at that point where it's like there's some equipment needs I have that I need to like make a move on like soon. So that will just continue to grow as I imagine, and I'm nearing that point too of having to think about adding somebody on like the team just to help with correspondence. I think that what I've noticed, even as it relates to apparel, there's just like people don't know it all, right? So they're asking you like 30 questions, and like that time that you're in correspondence, like dang, like I need to be printing, like so I need to figure out a balance there. But I expect that to only continue to grow. And then for myself, my like these are all things I love and enjoy doing, but I think that you know me well to know my like love for plants. Like I really want to own a farm. Like that is if there's a peak, that's where I'm headed. And I'm sure to some people that might sound totally disconnected from art and apparel, but I think there's actually something really neat and cool about food grow. There's just so much that I learned from a summer of starting a garden that I want to be in it as much and as long as possible. So that might be 10 years out. I don't know how far away that is, but that's like far future for me. And I'm like, what's my future? Like, I'm definitely going to be a farmer. Like, and I know that sounds so weird, judge me, whatever.
No, I love
But
it.
yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, that.
And then
Wait. Sorry, continue.
per, yeah, no, per what you asked about, like, what advice would I give? Um, ah, mm, I have this very like interesting relationship with advice, because I feel like as somebody who's a good listener, like I'm like, oftentimes there's only so much you can do with more information.
Mm,
And even just what I shared with, my need for funding, like there are a ton of YouTube, like, what am I trying to say without like, because then, uh, just do it. I mean, that may not be comprehensive, but I'll say this. One of the hardest things to do is start. The next hardest thing to do is be consistent. Um, I know for some people that happens intrinsically, like it's just internal, like you just have this drive, you have this urgency. For some people, they do need like that outside push, right? And I think that you go about that even in both scenarios, like having a community around you, supportive community is super important.
mm,
And I think that the way you best build that is by like being intentional in your relationship. So even rewinding to what you said about social capital, right? Having good company is so important, right? Like it's cool to have people you can have fun with and party with. And I don't think that those people necessarily have to be separate from the people who also support and believe in your dreams, because truthfully speaking, most of the support for my business has come from people I'm close to. Which I know that that's not the case for everybody, right? But I think that you learn with time, and this is, I think, a thing that does come with age, right? Like what it looks like to have good relationships, good friendships, right? And that might not always be family specifically, right? And that's not a bad thing either. But I can genuinely say that I have some really cool friends, like who show up for me in ways that um, I didn't know I needed, but make a world of difference in me even continuing to do what I'm doing. Perfect example. This week, a friend of mine texted me like, "Hey, I don't know why this has been on my heart, or like why God is telling me to share this with you, but like, don't give up on artistry lunch money." Like, um, I it was like I feel like this is God sent to be telling you this, but like, um, yeah, like don't give up. And I needed that. I didn't know I needed that, but I needed that. And like I could cry low key, but things like that don't come from random occurrences. Like that is a relationship that I've cultivated for the last 4 years. I've known this person, right? And we're deeply intertwined in business relationships. Like we support each other, and like things like that are probably more valuable than anything I could tell anybody about how to run their business or how to make it better or how to make more sales. Like I genuinely believe relationships are actually like the crutch of good business or anything that grows or scales, like having good relationships.
mm.
Um, so yeah, I don't know that there's like a steps of action you get there. I genuinely believe that part of that again happens with time, right? Like that I wouldn't have met that person had I not gone to school, and like we found that we had the same interests, and just that we were there, there's a part of that that happens as a result of time and space. But also the fact that even that we're now not even in the same states, but we've maintained that good relation. Like that's a matter of being intentional, right? Like reaching out, checking in, like and not always asking for something in return either. So yeah.
Wow. Wow, that actually hit so hard, Antonio. That's like, wow. I love that. Oh, I just, okay. I'm just gonna have us that because that was just so great. Like all that, we don't always need advice. We just need to like start, but also really being intentional about who we know and like who, oh yeah, that's so important. And I'm
Yeah.
happy and encouraged by everything that you said. And I'm so happy that your friend reached out to you and told you not to give up. Because like one of my favorite quotes is like, um, I forget which celebrity, but they were just saying the only difference between me and all these other rappers out here is that I didn't give up. And it's just like, no
Mm,
matter how good your product is, if you're like you were talking about that consistency, starting, being consistent, and just like these hard things are gonna come, hard times are gonna come, but like just sticking with it even during those times. So I just, whoo, Antonio, thank you. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much for your words. Thank you so much for just who you are in your business and like what you're giving to artists and like you just being this like light in this industry,
Thank you.
period. Yeah, just like to close out, just tell us where how we can support you, like where we can follow you, how we can stay connected.
Yes. So on IG, Lunch Money PLZ, like Lunch Money Please. Same for Twitter. Personal page is truly Antonio, Truly. Antonio. And yeah, that's probably where most of what I do lives, in the digital world. And I'm always happy to connect with people. So I think my email and all that stuff is listed there too. So yeah.
Yes. All right, Antonio. Again, thank you so much for being here. Your words. Oh, ah, yes. I feel
Thank
so
you for having me.
full.
I feel honored to, to be sought after. So I appreciate it.
No problem. No problem. We got you. We got
Yeah.
you. We gotta keep our young, wealthy, and Black people close. We gotta
Yes.
share them with the world. And we're so
Yes. And happy Black History Month to you, if nobody
yes,
said
happy
that.
Black History Month. Yes. I can't wait to see like what Black history you will make in your future and like the Black history that you're already making within.
And likewise.
I just love to see it. But yes, thank you so much for being here. Thank you everyone for watching, and goodbye.